If you're a person who believes in freedom of speech, you have to fight and say what you feel and let the chips fall where they may.
All right. Good evening, Lawrence and beyond. This is Bob on your screen, and the doc and I are going to be talking about Bob tonight. Justin, welcome aboard.
Yep. Hey, I don't care what anybody says, man. That's the best intro out there today, man. That was an awesome intro.
Okay. Let's get on with the show here. Thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in. I see we got the Rabbit in here, Clinton Hanson, Joe Cool, KFN, got the whole crowd. Kev Factor, Brandon Mitchell, man, that guy's everywhere.
He is.
He's even out on the street here lately.
I know, he does it all.
So, well, guys, the reason we wanted to get this little collab going tonight was we had a little bit of spin happening in the local news here recently, and it seems that our economic development guy is failing so bad that he's got to basically blame the rabble rouser and I as a means to come to an end of his contract with a little grace, I guess. I don't know. What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, so that guy, his name is it Bob Richardson? Is that his name?
Bob Richardson. We'll go ahead and just shove him back up on the screen so you can see what he looks like here. This guy was hired by the Chamber of Commerce basically to attract financial interests as a result of the Panasonic build that's going on over in Johnson County outside DeSoto. And they were supposed to attract some economic growth to Lawrence.
And he's failed so miserably at his job. So he's outgoing now. He's leaving. And there hasn't been the growth there in Douglas County that was promised all around, that this Panasonic plant that is in Johnson County, it's in DeSoto, it's in Johnson County, would be bringing jobs there to Douglas County, and that hasn't happened. And so he's failed so miserably at it that he had this collaboration there with that guy right there. You see is Chad Lawhorn. He is the editor of the LJ World, which is the biggest newspaper there in Lawrence. And they wrote this article blaming, like Michael just said, blaming me and Michael for that lack of financial or that lack of growth and that lack of financial development. And the reason is because he seems to think that potential people that are coming to the area would, he even says, he's like, oh, it's just no brainer. They would look, you'd think they'd look at a meeting
and then decide not to come because they saw cussing at the meeting. Are you kidding me? Clinton, it is a battery plant, and it looks like Justin froze up just a little bit there, but we've got the
and that's
Chad Lawhorn. There he is. Go ahead, Justin.
Yep, that's the spin they're running with. That's the spin they're running with. That this lack of growth, this lack of development, is because of cuss words that are said during a meeting. No other things. I mean, Lawhorn, we'll read the article here. Lawhorn does say, are we saying that it's because of them? No, of course not. Not after that huge implication. Yeah.
No, but we got this big headline up here though that basically implies everything that he says. Oh no, we're not saying that. We're just implying it with the biggest headline of the week, you know.
Right. Yeah, we're heavily implying it, and then they say, well, we're not saying that, but they don't bother to go into any other reasons for the lack of growth, and that's kind of what me and Michael want to talk about here. There's some serious, obviously glaring reasons why people aren't moving to Douglas County, and it's not because of a couple of swear words from me and Michael. We're talking
or two guys at a meeting raising a little hell because city leaders don't listen to them. I'm tired of hearing that as an excuse that we're somehow kind of disturbing everything. I mean, Christ, all we want is the 3 minutes to be uninterrupted to say our piece and move on. But this guy's going to make it like we're causing economic decline now.
Well, he's just such a colossal failure at his job that, I mean, look at it. Like, you have this Panasonic plant that should be a slam dunk for job growth, and it doesn't.
4,000 jobs, guys. 4,000 jobs.
Yep. So just a little background for the viewers there. Johnson County and Douglas County sit next to each other. Johnson County is east of Douglas County. And this Panasonic plant is going to be put in DeSoto, Kansas, which is in Johnson County, but it's close enough, I guess, to Douglas County that Douglas County seemed to think that they were going to be landing some of these 4,000 jobs coming to the area. Things that I think I'm breaking. Okay, so and there's a couple of important things to remember there. Those were kind of like pie in the sky. They just felt like if you build it, they'll come. And they didn't have to do anything else. They just felt like if you build it, they'll come. They didn't have to do anything else. Sorry, my internet's cutting out there.
Yeah, you're okay, man. This is DeSoto, guys. It's basically a town that's kind of in between. Well, basically in between the doc and I live in Lawrence and he lives over here. And so DeSoto is where this is happening. And the plant that they're building is out south here. And I expect it's probably a lot of this that's pictured in the satellite photo right here south of town.
Yep. And so they compare it to another Panasonic plant that went up out in Nevada, I think somewhere out in Nevada, and that it saw instant growth. And so, like I was saying, they just kind of expected, oh, we build that not even in our own county. Just expect we're going to land all these jobs. But there are some serious reasons why. And it's, like I said, it's not me and Michael cussing. I mean, it's taxes are out of control. Mm-hmm. It's crime is out of control. And it's the woke agenda that's pushed there in Lawrence. All of those things factor in. So like when people are deciding if they want to move to Douglas County, they're not looking at a city hall meeting and going, oh, they're cussing. No, they're reading the papers and going, this DA let off another fucking person for shooting downtown. The taxes are going up again. I'm not moving there if I could just live over in Johnson County, and that's where the job is anyways. I mean,
or up north in Jefferson County. It's a whole lot cheaper in Jefferson County.
It's so obvious what the practical real world issues are that are preventing people moving to Douglas County, but they're so unwilling to look at it that they're going to blame me and Michael for this. They're blaming me and Michael for their lack of financial development. I mean, you talk about not only is Bob Richardson failing at his job, but Lawhorn failing at his job. Talk about any kind of lack of, journalistic integrity, or even just wanting to present just a reasonable story of reality would be those significant factors. that are
Well, and
contributing.
Richardson says here that businesses that have considered Lawrence as a landing spot are dissuaded by the vitriol at the city commission meeting. And I'm going to highly doubt that anything that you or I say is going to sway any business from trying to do business here.
Well,
It's going to have to be a lot more of an economic decision than just a couple of guys yelling a little bit.
Well, but not even yelling, but it says that last line, it says, especially the weekly public comment session. So they're blaming, me and Michael, maybe Chris Flowers as well. But it's just, it's so unbelievable. You could go down there and you could talk to current business owners there in Lawrence, and you would understand why prospective business owners aren't coming down there. They don't even want to be there. A lot of them don't want to be there. Another issue, I mentioned crime, but the homeless issue. All of those things, homeless, taxes, the woke agenda, and crime, far outweigh anything that's being said during the weekly public comment sessions. And Lawhorn's got to know that. He's got to know that. I mean, the fact that he's running with this shows how lousy of a journalist he is, and how discredited LJ World should be, not just for this, but for all kinds of things, but especially for this.
Well, and he goes on to say here, when the potential developers go back and look at those meetings and see it, they're like, well, I don't need to be abused like that. I can take my money somewhere else. It's not the developers that we're talking to. And it's not the people at the Chamber of Commerce that we're even talking to. And they're the ones that are the crux of this issue. This is Bonnie Rowe and her buddies at the Chamber that are basically working with Chad Lawhorn to spin a piece about why the Chamber is failing, because Rob Richardson was an employee of the Chamber. He was an employee, or he was contracted with the Chamber, not the city. He was contracted by the Chamber of Commerce. So now why is the Chamber of Commerce failing? I've never actually interacted with a Chamber of Commerce member, Justin. Maybe you have when you were running for county commission.
No, I never have. I never have. Nope. And it's such misinformation there and propaganda that they're going to say that we are we're addressing business owners during weekly public comment. I mean, that's just a flat out lie. That's something that can be easily disproven. It can be. And that's what I'm saying about the journalist integrity of Chad Lawhorn. It's just awful. So that is just a straight up lie, and it's easily provable.
It's no different than what Justin, it's no different than what he said about that meeting where I got cited afterwards when they took me out and had me cited. He made it like Bart had started public comment or hadn't started public comment, but he actually had. It's the spin that he carries. He carries the water for the city, and now he's carrying some water for the journal or for the Chamber. But then, you get online, he can put out his newspaper, and I don't know how many people actually see his newspaper, but when you get out online and start looking, you can actually hear the voice of the community out here. This is the same article that hit online, and you can see what people are saying out here.
Yeah, let's read the article and let's get into some of these comments. So let's go back to the article and read that, and then we can get back into what they're saying. Because go to the top there. I mean, just look at the subtitle of this article. It quotes, that's a quote from Bob Richardson there saying, "I have never been in a city where you can cuss at somebody and not be removed from the meeting." I mean, just think about that. He is saying that right there that he doesn't support free speech. And matter of fact, he's only lived in communist places where if you use words that we don't like, you get removed for it. He's straight up saying that. And that's LJ World trying to get their readers to go, yeah, you know what? Yep, that's right. That shouldn't be happening here. Look at what Bob's saying. He's lived in other places. That shit shouldn't be happening. Well, I mean, first of all, I imagine that Bob is lying there. I bet that's a lie there. I would wonder if he's lived somewhere where somebody cussed at a city meeting and they got removed from it, because that would be a lawsuit right there.
And it's not just he's acting like this is just a Lawrence thing, and this is happening across the country because people are upset with their local leaders for a variety of reasons. So you're seeing a lot of redress right now, but he's acting like it's an isolated issue and causing economic decline for Lawrence.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly what he's doing. And it goes back to what we said there. He's a colossal failure at his job. He has failed to bring in jobs, and it's all tied together. We'll read this article here, but in my mind, it was trending that way before this Panasonic plan even was on, was coming in, is that Douglas County was trending towards just losing jobs. And in 2022, they had lost hundreds of jobs. and so the the reasons were the same. It was too expensive to live here. There was high crime. There's a lot of homeless.
Mhm.
So it's not like this, just like me and Michael started cussing. Now people are like, I'm out of here. No, people
Well,
were
and
leaving
this
because of the
this is a
policies that were in place.
Justin, I'm going to hold you up there because this is a really good point to get to that email that you showed me. Now, this is a email. Now, reminder for everybody: Dr. Spees did run for county commission, and so he did fill out these questionnaires for the media. And this is old Austin Hornbossel that had some communications with the doc and asked him some questions. I'm going to skip down here to where you started talking about the economics.
Yeah, it's
And
question one. It's
yeah, and
question.
it says here, Austin asks, with Panasonic battery plant coming to Douglas County, do you see the commission needing to strike a balance between impending growth in areas like Eudora and the desire to protect agricultural land? Back then, he wasn't even directly asking you about Lawrence, but go ahead and elaborate here, Doc.
All right. So the background on all this is that this was a candidate questionnaire that was sent out to all the candidates. So me, Democrat Patrick Kelly, and then Libertarian Steve Jacob all got this. And LJ World said, we're not going to print your answers verbatim. We're going to summarize them and write them into an article. And I had an issue with that. I took serious issue with that. I went back and forth with Hornbossel and Lawhorn about, basically let the candidates speak. The community doesn't want your spin and twist on it. And that's exactly what you're going to do. Just print the words. There's no real reason not to just print the words. And since then, that's what they do. They before then they printed the words. After then they printed the words. But when I ran, they wanted to have control over the narrative and all of it. And this first question here asked specifically about the Panasonic battery, and this was 2022. And or it asked about the Panasonic battery plant, and it says they're coming to Douglas County. And so I immediately called out them for saying, well, first of all, guys, that battery plant ain't coming to Douglas County. It's going to Johnson County. DeSoto is in Johnson County. So it just goes to show just even more, just, I don't know what you want to call it. Lack of attention to detail, a lack of research, a lack of not knowing what they're printing is not accurate. I don't know. It's just another example of that. So I call him out on that, and then I get into it and I say, that said, I think Democrat Patrick Kelly has done such a poor job of managing Douglas County these past 4 years that most, if not all, of those future employees resulting from the 8,000 jobs created by the battery plant won't end up living here in our county, sadly. What a shame. Talk about a missed opportunity. Good job, Patrick Kelly. By the way, Patrick Kelly oversaw the loss of 300 jobs in Douglas County in just the past year alone. So that's what I was saying. Things were trending in that direction already. And just prior to this, in the summer of 2022, they had voted, the county commission, as a matter of fact, the county, the city, and the school board all voted unanimously to raise property taxes and the mill levy across the board. And Douglas County, their home values had gone up double digits from the previous year. So we're talking huge increases. And so that's why people were moving out of there. That's
and guys, this is 2022. Now keep in mind that continuing on that trend, we've seen the largest tax increases happening here in Douglas County in the history of the county.
Yeah.
And so this isn't something that was a new thing. This started a long ago. And here's an email. This is from 2022. Let me go back up here and see the date. This is from October 5th of 2022. This is during the election of 2022. So this isn't something that's just popped up. This was 2 years ago that we were having this discussion and talking about the economic downfall, or the downtrend, I guess is what you want to call it.
Right. And it goes without saying that, of course, LJ World didn't print that about my response. And just think about, I mean, Chad Lawhorn has a responsibility to the community to present things to the community in accurate and fair way. So this should be something that was not my response there, but the job losses trending in the wrong direction. Those are things that they should be reporting on, and especially specifically in that article that they wrote with Bob Richardson. They should be talking about that. it's too much to say, guys. It's a little crazy to say that these two guys are causing this loss, but they could at least say there's other factors, and it seems to be that this is a really expensive place to live. I mean, so in 2022 they raised taxes. This past year the same thing happened. There's no relief from the government. From the local government there. And so that's what's called a deterrent. Families that are going to be working at the Panasonic plant see just that alone and say that's not something. Why would I want to go? I could just live across the line. Panasonic battery plant is already in Johnson County. I could just live across the county line, not have to pay those kind of taxes, and just give.
Or even Franklin or Miami County. They're both I mean, they could live in Ottawa. It's roughly the same distance from DeSoto, maybe a fefew more miles, but they could move down to, they could live in Paola. They could live in Osawatomie. There's a number of other places that are going to have a much lower tax base than what Lawrence does as far as rates. But here in this highlighted report here, you can see that Rob Richardson, he was hired in 2022 as this thing had already been heading down before he was hired. And so was he hired with the expectation of turning around some trend? No, he was hired with the expectation of attracting this new business, though there was a trend there already trending down. So it would appear that he's not going to have to answer for the fact that we're trending down, just that we didn't get anything from Panasonic, right?
Well, and that's his response. He's like, guys, I tried. I mean, this Panasonic thing is a slam dunk, but these two guys, man, they're hurting the image of Lawrence. And so let's blame them. It's those guys. It's not me. It's not the city, the county, the school board raising your taxes. It's not the homeless issue. It's a crisis. It's out of control. Mm-hmm. It's not that it's every day you see a latest article about the DA there, Suzanne Valdez, either, just mishandling,
losing a case, getting sued over a case. I mean, what's the fellow's name? Shannon from Indiana that's suing now.
Yeah. Illinois. Yeah. The basketball player.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's gun violence in downtown, which downtown Mass Street is supposed to be a family friendly place to go hang out, but there's gun violence down there, and these charges, they get minimal charged, and there's hardly any punishment when they are pushed through. That's the kind of stuff people see. And if Bob Richardson and Chad Lawhorn were serious people, they would be talking about that. They would want to turn around, talk about an image problem. They would want to turn around Lawrence and Douglas County if they were serious people, but they are not serious people. And they know that they failed so miserably at their jobs that they're looking for anything. And it's me and you. It's me and you. Anything other than them. And so it's me and you.
Yeah, pretty much. Like you said here, that they've been dissuaded by some of the vitriol that comes out at the Lawrence City Commission meeting. I'd say some of the vitriol that's happened in there comes straight from the commissioners, the way they disrespect the community with their high-minded grandeurism. Amber Sellers giving lectures to people that are being overtaxed just floored me this year.
Well, that paragraph you just had highlighted there, it's just go up one. Yeah, right there. In Lawrence, there are a fair number of weeks where a viewer can see and hear loads of profanity, overtly racist comments, and occasional instances of meetings being stopped for police to remove a public commenter. Now, it's so interesting that Lawhorn will go into detail on those kind of things while also overlooking the fact that the commission has stopped speakers, has stopped me and you from speaking, and under threat of arrest have now they say to remove a public commenter, but they don't go into even the specifics behind first of all, the commission has stopped us from speaking, which is a violation of our rights, and have unlawfully wanted the police to remove us, but the police at one time declined to do that, and then at other times the commission has straight up said, "Oh, we changed our mind, we're not going to remove them." Now they're not reporting on that, although those are things that have happened in the meeting, but they're going to report on these things. So again, that's what's called misinformation. That's what's called propaganda.
Well, and Justin,
read this. Stop reading this garbage. Stop paying for it. It's complete garbage.
Well, they're saying here being stopped for police to remove a public commenter, but they're not giving anything else, any other context to that, because a few times there where the police are removing public commenters, those public commenters had every right to be there and every right to be saying the things that they were saying, and the police had no business acting with force against them by removing them or citing them or whatever else happens.
Right, exactly. And it's interesting, they talk about a clear narrative push right there. They say that prospective business owners and families are tune in, watch a meeting, and they're not going to like to hear what they're hearing. Well, that's one way to look at it, but let's say that's true. Let's say they are tuning in, and let's say that there's another reason that they don't like it. Well, maybe that they see the city government silencing its citizens who are speaking. Maybe that's a reason why they don't want to move here.
Could be.
It doesn't outweigh the taxes, the agenda, all that other stuff, the crime, the homeless. It doesn't outweigh that. But I'm just saying, if they're going to spin it as, oh my goodness, they're cussing on there, I can't move there. Well, maybe they're also looking at it and going, those government officials look like tyrants that don't want to listen to their community and their constituents. I ain't moving there. Fuck
well,
that.
and see, here's how we justify everything that we wrote above here. Now look how much is written above here about how bad things are. And now we have this little statement here. Are booming public commenters then the reason Lawrence hasn't seen a Panasonic boom? No, surely not. Nobody's saying that. There are many other reasons that the Panasonic impact has been slow to reach Lawrence, and we'll get to those in a moment. But first, we got to make sure that these guys are the problem, and regardless of anything else that we've said after this.
Yeah, and so that next sentence there, can you read that one too?
Yeah, but Richardson, who has been a government professional for years, he was a planning director for Kansas City, Kansas, and Wyandotte County when the Legends Shopping District was being built, is saying that Lawrence has a problem that transcends even a $4 billion project.
Right. So that's how much weight they're putting on me and Michael's public comments. We're saying that our going in there and speaking has transcended $4 billion.
Yeah, it's an image problem, he says here. It's an image problem that Lawrence has. I would challenge that their image is a problem for many other reasons, and I think the citizens agree. The rest of this article, he basically kind of tries to backtrack into some of those reasons, but I want to go out to the Facebook tab here now, because I think the citizens get it. Regardless of what Chad Lawhorn is writing in his newspaper, there's enough people out there that have been paying attention that they actually get it. And Joel Julesgaard and Susan Walker, I think they get them.
Oh, Joel Julesgaard definitely gets it. Mm-hmm. And that's what he's saying there. I mean, if you want to read some of that.
Well, he's asking them, county constituents and public commenters ruining Lawrence, and laughs at it. It has nothing to do with the decades of unqualified establishment elected government officials abusing their power. And that's exactly what we've seen. Hell, you saw Bart Littlejohn. Hell, he even shut down a former mayor last week improperly. I hate to say it, but Courtney Shipley was shut down improperly in that meeting.
I know. And Courtney Shipley helped usher in and set that standard, and lo and behold, it's now being used on her. Imagine. And
so that whole thing, exactly. One day it may be you. And last, a week or two ago, it was Courtney Shipley. Who would have ever imagined that?
Right, exactly. Who could have guessed that? Who could have seen that coming? It couldn't have possibly came. No, couldn't have guessed that.
Right. And let's get down past a little of Joel's here. Let's see. Here's is Chad his brother? Rob Robertson, you're an ill-informed and an idiot. And I think that pretty much names it, because he's not very well informed about the history of Lawrence. And then here's Judith. I mean, once again, I got to tell you, Judith always nails it.
Yeah.
If the LJ World actually reported events accurately, then their articles would be of value. And they have I want to touch off on this for just a minute. Lawrence Journal World has a paywall, and I am constantly getting shit from people about the fact that YouTubers make money. And the epitome of the people that you guys are trying to tag us as the people looking for clicks and looking for views. I mean, I want you to come see this because I want you to step up and be more active. I don't need your damn money, and I don't need your damn click. If you can be more active without clicking on my videos, then so be it. Get out there and go to a damn meeting. But Chad Lawhorn and the people at the Journal World, in order to pay their damn bills, They have to have you read that newspaper. They have to have you click on their links, and they hope that you click on the advertisers so that the advertisers continue to pay them more money. Now, Justin and I, we don't advertise. KFN doesn't advertise. I know a lot of YouTubers that are into this work that aren't into advertising. They aren't into the money part of it, the clicks part of it. Yeah, we want people to see our videos and we want people to get the word out and spread it. But it's not about the clicks and views in the way that they paint it. And this goes directly to Jay Armbrister. You know, he made this a big issue with me. But your guy over at the Journal World that keeps carrying your water, he's the guy that's literally doing this for clicks and views. And I think the community can recognize it as well.
I know, it's so stupid. Every time we walk up to a cop afterwards, they always say, oh, you're doing this for clicks and money. And it's like, well, first of all, it's just asinine because no. But secondly, do you say that to the actual reporters that are getting paid money that are not even ashamed by it? Like, you click on the article, it goes behind a paywall. Do you say that to Condi when he walks up to you, to one of the reporters, Chris Condi? Do you say, oh, you're only doing this for money? No, they're more than happy to fucking talk to them. Meanwhile, they are actually doing it for money. Yep. They're actually doing it for the money. It's so fucking stupid, man. These people are so fucking stupid.
And there's Foshin didn't have any respect for the First Amendment.
Well, hold on. Can you go back up to Judith Matthews' comment there? Yeah. Because I think reading the rest of it is worthwhile, because this perfectly captures what we're talking about.
Go ahead.
The propaganda of it. She says, so I'm on the third sentence there. It says the reporter was there but didn't get off his. Well, let me go to the second sentence. They aren't. They are total city propaganda. At a recent city commission meeting, a person was removed illegally. The reporter was there but didn't get off there to question either party, meaning he didn't question you. And I'm sure he questioned the commission, but he didn't question you. Couldn't even see from their angle. What reporter fails to question those involved? One who writes up what the city tells them to afterwards, even if that is recorded on video and proves otherwise. First Amendment, freedom of the press, or an LJ worldview only for those approved by the city who get free access for towing the party line. Shame. And we could end the live stream right there, because that's perfectly it. That's exactly right. Why in the world wouldn't a reporter go and ask what exactly happened, go back, review the video? I mean, that story that story that night published as we were standing in the parking lot within an hour. The reporter came walking out. He pressed send and then walked out within an hour of that meeting, because we were standing in the parking lot talking.
Yeah.
And so it goes to show he didn't look into it. He didn't review any video. No. He certainly didn't come talk to you.
But let's flip that over, Justin. Let's flip that over, because there's the whole Amber Sellers, Josh Seiden thing when she nominated him for the CPRB. And I was trying to get the Lawrence Journal World to actually break news that it was Amber that did this, right. And nobody would own it. And I sent Chad Lawhorn the damn text that right. showed that she was involved in it, that she was the one, she even admitted defending him there. And he took it to his editor, and they wanted more. They got to have more, and we got to interview the other party and this and that and the other. If it's something that the community is going to bring to them, or somebody that they don't want to hear from is going to bring to them, or if it's a subject that they don't want to hear from, it's going to be, well, we didn't get enough sources to corroborate or to investigate properly. But here they will just run with this and slander people right and left. And this is what happens when, like I've said a lot of times in the last couple of months, about writing from the affidavit. They'll basically take the police narrative, publish it in the paper, and make somebody a convicted criminal before they've even had their first appearance.
Right. Exactly. And isn't that just, it's the damnedest thing where, like you just said, that there's a perfect example there where they supposedly need more information on, or more evidence to do a story. But on this one here, they're hitting send on it as you know, before they even leave City Hall for that evening.
Well, the reason they needed more evidence is because they couldn't burn that bridge to Amber, because boy, what would happen if Amber doesn't talk to the Lawrence Journal World anymore? They wouldn't get the stories. They wouldn't be able to get the clicks and views, right?
Right.
Now, well, I burned that bridge knowingly. When I published the text, I knew she'd probably never talk to me again. And I don't freaking care, because what she did was wrong. And if I have to trade my morals and my ethics to be able to talk to Amber, I'm sorry. No, I'm not going to do that. Amber's going to need to shape up her morals and ethics and talk to me a little bit. Right.
Well, you know, it's also like, you know, when when I filed the lawsuit against the city, and I made a video about this at the time. I filed the lawsuit, and within an hour, LJ World had written an article on it. And in the video that I made on, I'm just talking to the camera about how, you know, it's a 70+ page lawsuit. It would take 3 hours for me just to read through it. It would take me another hour to think through it, and probably another hour and a half, 2 hours to write something up to get it accurate. But no, they had it out within an hour. They had it out within an hour. There's no way they could even have read the entire fucking thing. But out it goes.
There's no way they could have reviewed video.
Huh?
There's no way they could have reviewed any video or gone back and taken a second look at it. All they did was just write from whatever the police decided to tell them whatever happened.
Yep, exactly. It's lazy, man. It's lazy. It's malpractice. I
like this comment. The urinal world. And I actually heard a modification on that, Mr. Smith. I heard somebody earlier today refer to it as the urinal swirl. And I kind of like that.
Yep. Well, you know, Judith Matthews has another comment over here in the live chat going, and it says exactly why Lisa Larson told me to read the LJ World article when Amber tried to shut down Justin for nominating Sidon, which was total fiction. My lying eyes and ears again. And so that's precisely what happened after Amber Sellers shut me down during general public comment for speaking on items that both Michael and Josh Sidon himself had talked about. I had called out Amber Sellers for nominating Sidon, and then she did a point of order and said I couldn't talk about that. And so Judith had sent an email to the commissioners, and Lisa Larson responded to her and straight up gaslighted her, straight up lied to her face and said, oh no, Justin got shut down only after he was verbally abusive.
Well, and go read the Lawrence Journal World. Go read the Lawrence Journal World. They'll tell you the truth. I mean, that's what actually happened.
Right. And so she references them to this lying, propaganda piece that, if you go watch the video, you can see very clearly that as soon as I call Amber Sellers out, she calls a point of order. There's no other topic that's brought up. It's just a point of order and I'm done speaking.
Yep.
And so Lisa Larson lies to someone that's concerned about this and uses LJ World's mouthpiece of political propaganda, lies and expects the reader, like she just said, to believe their lying eyes and ears. It's you pull the video up.
You bring up a good point. Amber tried to shut you down. And they did the spin thing. And then when the spin wasn't working anymore, you notice that happened a few weeks right before Amber started just ditching public comment.
Right.
And I think, to me, the reason Amber, she's chicken. She knows she can't shut us down. And she keeps trying these different ways to shut us down. And what's she doing in the back room? She's just hiding from the inevitability of having to come back out because she tried to shut you down. And then a couple of weeks later, all of a sudden, she just has to stay out of the room.
Right. And so, again, that's where LJ World has a responsibility. They should be calling her out as well, because that's just bad governance. And on top of that, I wanted to mention this as well, because it's in line with the article we're talking about tonight. Another a clear propaganda piece from LJ World is that they printed Amber Sellers' statement on why she is no longer sitting through general public comments, and they run it without a shred of integrity, without a shred of curiosity, without a shred of wanting to learn a little bit more about what she is accusing of. So, for instance, in that article, she says that her and the commission have endured threats. And so threats are what is called a crime. And so if a crime had happened, damn well that a police report would have been generated. They would have charged somebody. Somebody would have been charged. The LJ World, there would have been articles written on it. And none of that exists because there have not been any threats. But LJ World prints that without following up and being like, Amber, can you provide us those case 100%. Numbers on that? Well, how didn't we know about this? We've been in all the meetings and now we're just hearing about this. Why didn't we report on it? I mean, when you think Lawhorn would be like, hold on, Amber, we've never reported on anybody threatening you guys at the meetings. What are you talking about?
Right.
They don't even fucking ask. It's straight up.
It's not important. It's not important to the narrative that they're spinning, and so it just gets left behind.
Well, it gets left behind, and part of what I hope, and what you had said is that, you know, these comments are an indication that people are waking up, and I agree, they're waking up to the bullshit. But I hope that they take it a step further and they wake up to what they're being fed to them as lies, and that they stop reading LJ World, certainly stop paying for it, and put them out of business. If they're going to lie to the community for whatever reason, but they're doing it for political reasons here. They're doing it for financial reasons as well with that Panasonic stuff. Whatever.
Well, and I think Rob, Bobby boy, he's doing it for career reasons because he needs to cover up this failure so that he can move on to his next big contract.
Precisely. And he can't point to the city and the county and the school district and the taxes and the crime and all that stuff because he's part of that fucking system. And me and you are outside of it, reporting the facts as is. And we are being, you know, they're basically saying we're costing them $4 billion.
Well, like the normal levers that they usually use to shut down stuff like this and this kind of information, the normal levers aren't working because they're not able to say, hey, if you don't do this, we won't do this. I don't need a quid pro quo from the city, and I don't care to ever get an offer.
I don't even think these are normal. These aren't even normal levers, man. This is unheard of to be doing this to target specifically general public comment, specifically the people that speak during there as the reason for costing the county $4 billion. I've never seen them do that before. That they're going to extremes here.
And as we've said a number of times, every single effort they've made to try to, I don't know what you want to call it, control it, stifle it, shut it down, whatever, every single step has just resulted in more attention being brought to it. And here's another reality. We discussed this after the last couple of meetings. They're upset about public comment. Well, back in the day, and I remember this, back in the day, we would go in there and there would be a 3-minute public comment period that we would have at the beginning. And most oftentimes you and I were out of there by 6:30, 7. Occasionally, I would stay a little later if there was an issue on there that I had really personal interest in, but we were out of there pretty quick. And what they've created is a situation where now we go in there, we have to wait till the end of the meeting. So now I'm looking at the agenda. I don't want to sit here bored all night. Let me look at this agenda and let me dig into this and find out what these things are and learn about them a little bit more and maybe give my 2 cents on them. Well, I mean, that's what happens when you move public comment to the end. Amber and Bart and Lisa. Think about it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're going to exercise our rights even more. And I wish more people felt that way as well. I mean, just think about that, Lawrence. I mean, no matter how liberal and Democrat and how much you hate the other side and all that stuff, but just think about that. Your elected officials there with their liberal woke agendas they are making your public comment. They're putting in deterrents for you to go in and speak. And one of them is the time. But then also on top of that, they are also censoring the community because they have chosen to stop recording and broadcasting the general public comment. And we've already run into a very serious, significant issue with that, is that there are rights violations that take place in there. There are arrests that were threatened to take place in there and is not being broadcast to the community. So a very important thing going on in there. Mm-hmm. The community of Lawrence, all the liberals and everyone that voted for this stuff, you are being deprived of that information. You're being deprived of the governmental processes that are taking place in your community. And on top of that, you're being programmed to hate me and Michael for that. We are the reason is what you're being told, instead of just wisening up and being like, well, I don't agree with what they say, what Michael and Justin say, but do you really need to not broadcast and record general public comment? Why? What is that? What is that achieving? And there are people that have voiced that concern. I just think that there need to be a lot more that have pushback against that, because it's a significant restriction that they're putting on information coming out of City Hall there, the commission.
Well, and the thing is they make it like we're in there just to disrupt and just to cause problem. Now, I tell you the reason that I'm loud and the reason that I'm persistent is because the issues that I've brought to them have been ignored time and time again. And I get a little bit of lip service at the beginning. And then when they found out that the lip service didn't work, I would just get ignored. And if I wouldn't buy the bullshit, then it's not worth talking to him, because he's not going to buy the bullshit that I'm going to give. So he's just a lost vote, I guess, is the way they view it. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Right, but we're not even at that point here. Like, so I was speaking at general public comment 2 weeks ago, and I was reading from the lawsuit that I have filed against that city commission there and two of its mayors, Lisa Larson, who is a commissioner right now, and Courtney Shipley, who's no longer on the commission. But I have a lawsuit filed against them for restricting my free speech there on multiple occasions. And I'm reading from that lawsuit, and I'm giving examples of the inconsistencies that have taken place in those meetings right then and there over time. And also setting it up to ask a question, a serious, legitimate question. How am I supposed to know what you all consider germane when you allow some people to talk about things that I'm not allowed to talk about, topics that I'm not allowed to talk about? And so that's what I'm talking about. I'm simply reading from, I've typed it out on my phone. I'm reading what my remarks are. I'm not cussing. I'm not yelling. I'm just reading that. And I get stopped by Bart Littlejohn, the mayor, who says that it's not germane. And because now that he's determined that it's germane, no matter what I say, I'm like, are you kidding me? Am I living in an upside down world? A lawsuit against you guys isn't germane to you guys? He now can say, well, you're being a disruption. And because you're being a disruption, you can be under arrest for that. And so that's the kind of stuff that I think needs to be reported on, because we're not going in there yelling and cussing and blah, blah, blah. Does that happen? Sure. But I'm giving you an example of when it doesn't happen and we're still
down. Justin, for the 4 hours or 3 hours, whatever, before public comment, what are we doing? We're standing in the back of the room, sitting in the back of the room quietly, or we're going outside the room to discuss something. Yeah. I mean, we're not interrupting the meeting. We're not disrupting anything, and they're getting work done. But when it's an opportunity for the public to weigh in and for the public to express their opinion, that's exactly what it is. It's not a time for a commissioner to look for an opportunity to shut somebody down so that we can end this process a little quicker.
Right. Exactly. And I like that comment that's up there from Clinton Hansen. It says, I looked at apartments in Lawrence today and the rent is through the roof. First of all. Secondly, what I have seen of the politics in Lawrence, I'd never moved there. So that first part about rent. So, I mean, it's outrageous. So part of the, I mentioned the lawsuit that I filed against. Part of that lawsuit is an incident that happened in October of 2022, where I was speaking during general public comment, and I specifically mentioned things. I mentioned rent, I mentioned inflation, I mentioned gas prices, and Courtney Shipley, who was the mayor at the time, stops me and says, "That's not germane, because what does the city have to do with rent?" And I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" When property, there's a lot of reasons, but when property taxes go up,
right,
the rent goes up. It's not the evil landlords, it's the property taxes. It's what you guys are doing. And so that's why I hope that, or I was going to say that the importance, the significance is that there was a recognized problem in the community in terms of rent is too high, which could contribute to people not living there or moving out of town, or like Clinton was saying there, that he wasn't, that's too high. It's too high. So we weren't even allowed to talk about the issue. I wasn't allowed to talk about rent. So rent is off topic. So we got this out of control issue that's making it so people don't come to our community and grow the community.
But we can't talk about it.
When you come in to talk about it, it's not germane. Shut the fuck up. We don't have anything to do with it. And so I got shut down and under threat of arrest got escorted out of there. And so how are we supposed to fix a problem like rent if the commission can say, oh, it's not germane, shut the fuck up, get out of here?
Well, but apply that to any problem. How are we supposed to fix any problem if the commission can just say it's not germane? And Chad Smith posts another, ask them for the definition of germane, guaranteeing they can't define it. And this goes to the crux of the issue, is they really cannot define germane. They haven't been able to, Justin.
Well, that's the thing. One of the things that I read, it was either last week or the week before when I got shut down. I can't remember. But one of the things is in their lawsuit, they say that a reasonable person knows what germane is, and germane means related to the business of the governing body. And so, so I think that the commission needs to have that applied to them as well. So, for example, rent. That would be germane because it's relevant to the business of the city. Your lawsuit, the lawsuit that I filed against you, that's called Germaine because that's related to the business of your of the, and I laid out reasons why they've spent $26,000 on these lawsuits. Boom, that alone right there, it's germane because that's taxpayer money. Next, can we move on? And so what? And so what is happening is we're cut off. I'm stopped from speaking because they've made a determination that that's not germane, and then they hide behind, well, an ordinary person of intelligence would know that has to relate to the business of the city. And so I'm asking them straight up, explain to me how that's not germane.
And they can't.
Also explain to me why other people get to talk about rent. People came in there and talked about rent. I have video evidence of it. I just went back and looked. People talk about rent. Why aren't they allowed to talk? Why am I not?
Well, and Justin,
how is that?
That's no different. It's no different than the Seiden thing, because I went up and spoke about Seiden being appointed to the board, and other people did. And then suddenly when you went up and mentioned it, Bart had to shut you down. And I don't see any other way to look at that other than some kind of move against you specifically.
Right.
Because other people were allowed to.
It makes you wonder why LJ World doesn't report on that, why they're only reporting the narrative of we're somehow disruptive, but without actually getting into the weeds of, you know, who's determining what's disruptive. I mean, the facts are the facts. I've made videos. You can go and look at people talking about the exact same things that they told me I was not allowed to talk about. It's right there in LJ World.
But how? No, hold on. They make you disruptive. Let's dig into that just a little bit. So you're talking during your 3 minutes, and you're speaking about an issue that any normal person would see as germane to city business, such as increasing rents due to property taxes going up. And the mayor interrupts you and tells you that you're not being germane, and you continue speaking on that issue. How are you just arbitrarily the disruption? And it truly is just because he has that title. He's mayor. So he can say that you're causing the disruption, not him for interrupting you, but you are.
Right. And it's so damn subjective. You can't even argue back in the moment. So like I would argue back and be like, what are you talking about? I'm suing you guys. There's a lawsuit. I mean, that person right there, Lisa Larson, is named in that lawsuit. The entire commission is named as a body in that commission. How is that not germane? And that there's no overturning it. He has that, the mayor, whoever it is, has that subjective ability to say that it's not germane, and that leads to discrimination. That the subjectivity of it leads to the ability to discriminate against people that are speaking they don't like, and that's what's going on with me. It's clear as day. I mean, I'm talking about things that other people are allowed to talk about, and my gripe right now with this, I'm trying to tie it into our conversation, is LJ World, why don't you report that?
No, they won't. They can't.
You know, well, if you want to say what's really going on down at these meetings, first of all, get your reporter with a fucking camera himself broadcasting that to your audience.
Yeah. Well, hold on, because you talk about LJ World getting a camera and reporting it. You know, Mackenzie at the Times, she is reporting their feed. But again, during that situation where they had me removed and cited, that feed did not show everything that was going on. It didn't show the full spectrum of what was going on. Had she been in the room with her own camera, focusing on the things that were happening, she might have caught what actually happened in that room instead of just relying on the city's feed.
Exactly. It's like get down there with your camera and film as well. So you have a government that you're reporting on wanting to operate in the shadowness, and you as the reporters are supposed to be the light shiners, which is basically what me and you are doing, Michael, and we're getting villainized and demonized for it, but they're supposed to be there shining the light. Now, yes, Mackenzie Clark at Lawrence Times is recording the Zoom and broadcasting that on their YouTube channel, but like you said, it's only through the government angle. So it's one camera angle in there, and had you not been recording, and had I not been recording, we don't see a different angle of what happened when you got.
Well, I'm going to back up. I'm going to back this up just a little bit, because when Mackenzie first started putting out her videos, what she was doing is she was capturing the full screen of the Zoom. And I'm suspicious of what's going on here. And I'm just going to go ahead and state it publicly, because if you go back and you look at the Lawrence Times YouTube channel, you can see the first few that they put up. They're just capturing the Zoom screen with everybody on it. And then there came a time where I don't remember exactly what was going on, but Amber made a face, Bart made a face, and there were some faces being made. And I actually pulled that video and cut those faces and put them on the screen so people could see what they were. And within a couple of weeks, then we get this view that's only this or only that. They've gone to only the commissioners or only the speaker or things like this. It's not the full panel view. And who made that decision? Was that some pressure that was put on McKinsey to not allow me to have access to something that I could use to show what the commissioners were actually looking like during these times? Or was it McKinsey's own decision that she didn't want to cause problems with the city, so she decided to not give me that opportunity on her own? I mean, these are things that we need to ask, because the city's managing a narrative about what happens in that room, and there's a lot more that happens that's not included in that narrative.
Right. And so whatever it is, something ain't right going on there, whether it's her doing it and only showing the one angle, or the city stepping in and saying, we're only going to show this one angle. And so, like we had talked about, you and I had talked about this the other day, but there was a week where I think it was the first week where where Amber Sellers had gone to the back room. And so and so the camera angle that was broadcast during general public comment didn't even show the speakers. It was an angle that was pointed just from an angle back towards the commissioner. So you saw the 4 commissioners and then the empty seat of Amber Sellers. You couldn't see the commissioner. And so in my mind, with Amber Sellers being able to go back into that back room, all the commissioners could do that as well. They could be like, all right, we're out of here. And so with that camera angle, what you would see essentially is just an empty room with a speaker supposedly somewhere in that room standing there speaking. would look like just an empty room. And what does, talk about an image issue? What does that see? What even the angle that you're seeing right now, what does that say about the community, where you get one angle and it's pointed, you can't even see the speaker speaking? There's no reason that they have it set up.
I want to take a little break here, because I want to throw something up here and show it to people, because a lot of people try to say that we're trying to interrupt the process or screw up the process or slow down the process or disturb, whatever, all the narrative and the nouns and adjectives that they want to use there. But let's talk about what we really want out of our commissioners, because there was an interview that Doc did here not too long ago with San Joaquin. I'm not going to get into all the drama, but the interview was good, and I'm going to play a little excerpt of it here.
Beautiful thing to see the process play out right there. Our elected officials took a concern of ours seriously and debated it like they should. Now, ultimately, the outcome didn't go the way that we wanted, but the process fucking worked. An excuse. I think people go, well, I'm not going to go to the meetings. These commissioners, they don't listen. It doesn't change anything. It's like that's called an excuse for your apathy and for your cowardice. Last night, for example, me and Lawrence Accountability went to the city meeting, and we spoke about, we pulled an agenda item about the meeting minutes from the previous week were not accurate, and we asked the commission not to approve those meeting minutes until they accurately reflected the reality of the situation, because it's very important that it reflected the reality of the situation.
Vice Mayor Dever?
Mayor, when I walked in the door, I was asked by a member of public why certain items weren't listed on the meeting minutes, so I would ask that person to speak to the items, because I'm not really prepared to do so, but thought it deserved some sort of recognition since he requested such.
Okay.
And to our surprise, the commission debated it, and they took positions, and they all didn't vote in favor. Now, they ended up approving it, which was wrong, but a couple of them voted against it. And so afterwards, me and Michael talked, and we said that was a beautiful thing to see the process play out right there. Our elected officials took a concern of ours seriously and debated it like they should. Now, ultimately, the outcome didn't go the way that we wanted, but the process fucking worked.
Sorry, guys, I was a little muted there. That is the point. The process doesn't always work the way we want it to, but the process actually worked with us involved in it that time. And that doesn't happen. And that is the problem that we're so focused on, because when we go in, all those processes seem to break down, and it seems to become a campaign to just find a way to get them out of the meeting as quick as possible so we don't have to hear them, period. End of story. And if they would just let the process play out, that's all we've been looking for. And I think, Justin, the way you put it in that interview was probably about the best way it could be put. It was a beautiful thing. And I remember having that discussion with you right after that happened. We went out in the outer room, is like, holy crap, did that really just happen the way I thought? I mean, I didn't like the outcome. I don't like the fact that they didn't correct the minutes to show that I was removed improperly and cited and such, and that you were silenced. But the process freaking worked.
Right. Yeah. No, it was...
And we got all those commissioners on record. That's the other thing that I want to point out is during that process, these commissioners have that opportunity to speak and point out why they're for something or why they're against something. And I made a comment on a Johnson County page today, or not Johnson County, but Jackson County, because their commissioners apparently want just a yes or no answer from the citizens. Do you support this or not? Yes or no? And I said, no, you've got to tell them the reason why you support something or why you don't support something. They need to dig into those reasons why you're thinking that way and understand the people a little better, instead of just expecting a yes or no from somebody and they're going to walk away and hope that you make the right decision. That's not the way democracy works. And you're not participating if you're just giving a yes or no without any kind of background to it or any kind of an explanation as to why.
Right. Yep. Exactly. And then, that goes back to, how the process of the meeting is supposed to be that during general public comment, when our 3 minutes starts, we're supposed to have 3 minutes uninterrupted. And so we're showing examples, clear-cut examples where, the mayor interrupting us was the disruption. It disrupted the process, because the process is they're just supposed to sit there and listen. Right? They're not supposed to make any determinations that would, catapult them into action of shutting.
We know they're not going to answer any questions. We already know that clear. So we're not expecting an answer.
Right. And so when they step in and they intervene, that creates the disruption in that 3 minutes. And so if we're being technical, and then we get blamed for the disruption. And so if we want to be technical about it, the mayor should be removing himself for disrupting the 3 minutes for no reason whatsoever. So when the process is allowed to play out, it works just like you were saying there. What would happen is we'd speak our 3 minutes and we'd be fucking done,
Yep.
But no, they interfere in the process.
Right. And Todd lays it out. The struggle is real. I appreciate you saying that we put on a good show. It didn't start as a thing to put on a good show, but I mean, it's kind of hard not to with some of the absurdity that goes on. I went up to Jackson County and had an attorney. I'm going to have to go back and actually time my public comment period that I spent up there on Monday, because I think the attorney actually spoke for more of the time that I had the floor than I actually spoke. And is that not an interruption? That's interrupting the process again. And I think that gets down to the crux of this whole aspect of this fellow that wants to blame the citizens who are upset about things going on in their community. And if he's going to use us as the cudgel and say that it's our fault, that we're the problem. And here he is again. This is that Rob Richardson. I'm assuming it's Robert. So I like Bob better. So I'm going to call him Bob. And Bob, I don't appreciate the slander, buddy. I mean, just honestly. And I don't appreciate colluding with Chad to do it. That's getting kind of old.
Yeah. Yeah, I could imagine the people like in his profession would, see his failure there in Douglas County, and they'd be like, they'd be talking about him like in a way like, did you see how poorly he did there? I mean, geez.
Well, he had access to 4,000 jobs coming into DeSoto, which is, I think DeSoto is 15 miles from my front door. And so 4,000 jobs 15 miles away. And our single family housing starts are going to hit a record low this year, they say. And we're not seeing the sales tax income. That's why the property taxes are taking such a hit. And we're seeing property values going through the roof. We're basically got a perfect storm of all the reasons why people aren't going to want to move here. And Bob, I guess he could have talked to the city a little bit more about those things rather than talking about us.
Right. They're like delusional, both him and LJ World and everyone that thinks everything's fine there. They're delusional if they don't see that. Businesses downtown on Mass Street have for a few years now been outwardly expressing their concerns of how unsafe downtown feels. You can pick up a paper on any given week practically and see another shooting happening in Lawrence. You can practically pick one up every day and see another botched something with the prosecutor, some kind of outcome that wasn't, that it
Screwed up
wasn't
case.
a deterrent. Yeah. So something along those lines. You can look at all of that stuff. And instead they're just delusional about it. You can look at the taxes going up. People are saying it loud and clear. It is too expensive. People are also tired of the woke agenda being just everywhere. These leaders, they're not problem solvers. They're not thinkers. They're not like engineers. They're political activists that have been voted into these places, and their agenda is what is influencing. The taxes going up is because they're taking your tax money and spending it on these social welfare programs that are not held accountable either to themselves or to whoever is giving them the money, the city or the commission.
Well,
and so
now I'm going to interject here because I'm that, we talked about this. We got to figure out a two-part because I don't like the two that we mentioned. But I'm the liberal leaning one here, and I'm the homeless advocate. And I can tell you right now that the money that they're spending on homeless services is being wasted because they're not seeing any kind of result from it. And as a person who has always been a fiscal conservative and a social liberal, my fiscal conservatism has to kick in when I see a social program that is continually just using money, but not seeing any results. And that's something that we have to change about this. And as long as we keep just throwing money at things without any kind of driven result, we're not going to get there. And I think that the Lawrence Beat is another podcast here in Lawrence. And if any of you guys aren't subbed to them over there, you need to go out and check them out. They're at The Lawrence Beat at YouTube. If somebody could pin that in the comments for us. They're going to be doing a live stream on Thursday at 11, and they're going to be digging into some of this propaganda as well. And I'm sure they're going to be probably covering it from a more technical aspect because they've got Brent Bovey, the attorney that's been talking to them, or not the attorney, but the accountant that's been working with them on a lot of these things. So I'd encourage everybody to look in over there on Thursday morning at 11 Central and get some input from there too. Don't just trust this rag right here. I mean, this freaking rag, I tell you what, I got access to it because it's not an argument I want to have over $4.99. My wife has access to it, so I can see it. I rarely comment out there on it unless it's on their Facebook page or something because it's just not worth my time.
Yeah. And so what you were saying there about the money being wasted, it's called a cost benefit analysis. And you never hear that spoken when they're going for tax raising time or anything like that. And that would be looking at, the commissioners looking at these programs that they're giving all this money to. It's millions of dollars of taxpayer money and saying, okay, we've provided this amount of money. Now we need to know if our dollars are going to the desired outcomes. And you don't see that happening. And so you'll see more money being spent towards those programs. There's no cap on it whatsoever. And I ran on a lot of those things, capping spending.
Hey, look here. Look here.
Like
It says FYI to that, Eudora still doesn't have growth from Panasonic. Now, I don't remember ever going to a Eudora city meeting. So that surely can't be our fault. Have you been to a Eudora city meeting and I just didn't know about it?
No.
No. Well, I wonder how Eudora is getting affected by our cuss words at City Hall in Lawrence. That's pretty interesting there.
Well, I'm sure they'd still blame us. But the overall point that I'm trying to make with that cost benefit analysis and the Democrat way of just throwing money at something and saying, well, we're spending money on it, it should fucking be fixed, is that in order to kind of change, everything there, you got to get rid of these Democrat, basically just, they're just promoting their agenda. They're activists that are promoting this woke agenda, and that woke agenda is what makes them want to spend a lot of money unnecessarily. So if you want the taxes to go down there and you want to bring jobs back in there, you want to make it more livable for people, you have to elect people that aren't going to just spend on their agendas. Like I had mentioned, like an engineer, we need an engineer up there that looks at it and goes, well, if we did this and this, we could get this result here. But if we did this, that kind of thing. Instead, you have Amber Sellers, who up there tries to sound so, she's an activist and just tries to sound so smart with her social constructive relativism, talking about like, and her postmodernism, talking about, oh, you want to be an inward solver, not an outward solver, or an inward evaluator, not an outward. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Let's get down to the actual.
I remember that technical conversation about the technicalities, whether they were inward facing or outward facing technicalities. And that wasn't that the night when they were talking taxes? That was another time where she was lecturing the people and trying to sound smart on taxes when the people out there were already upset that they were trying to do that stuff.
Right.
And this is not a new tack either. I want to point that out as well. This whole thing about blaming us for the lack of growth. Hell, they tried to blame the fire department for the tax increase. And I was really glad to see a lot of the fire department come in there and basically let them know that, hey, we're not your cudgel either,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've never seen them blame private citizens for it. You know what I mean? If you were going to blame anyone, maybe there was like a killer there in Lawrence you could point to and be like, oh, this guy, man, he's making it so people want to move here. And that would maybe.
Well, it's been too long. We haven't had a good killer around here to blame in such a long time.
Right. Well, I'm saying it'd have to be that kind of an extreme thing, right? If it's an individual citizen. But no, they got us for our words down there at City Hall three times a month.
Yeah, 3 times a month. And for just what we get 3 minutes, we speak maybe 2-3 times a night at the most.
And half those times we get cut off.
So you and I combined have probably less than an hour of speaking time a month at City Hall. And we have affected the entire economic standing of Lawrence. Can you believe that?
Yeah, $4 billion. Just think of that.
$4 billion. Dude, just think if we got an hourly wage based on that, $4 billion an hour.
Right. I know. Well, I think that these, Lawhorn, LJ World, the commission, Bob Richardson, everybody else, they need a mirror held up to themselves. So what is right? They're being delusional. There are practical things. They could have used an article to get to the practical aspects of it, like what really is going on. Instead, they just run cover for one another over the city as well. That's why I said they're unserious people. If they really want to try and fix it, they would come up with a serious, like we're talking about the two guys that are supposedly causing this issue. We're talking more seriously about the issues that are actually affecting why jobs are leaving, why people aren't wanting to live there. And we have the editor of the largest paper there with this guy that was running shit. Can't even have a serious conversation. They expect their readers to go, oh yeah, you know what? If it weren't for those two guys, yeah, we'd have all those fucking jobs there.
Right.
They really expect that? I'm sure there are.
Well, and but I don't claim to have the solutions, and I don't think you do either. But the problem is the solutions are going to come out of the conversations, and until we can have a legitimate, honest conversation about the reality of the problems we're facing, we're never going to find a solution. That's just cut and dry. That there's no doubting that.
And we've already covered that when we even bring up, rent, the conversation gets shut down. So how are we supposed to be? And it goes back into that Germaine thing. Somebody watching from the outside would say, well, how are we really supposed to be talking about these issues if, he got shut down? I can't go in there and talk about rent. And then rent never fucking goes down. It just keeps going up because you can't fucking talk about it, apparently.
Yep. Well, Doc, what else do we want to cover here? I think we've got through that story pretty well. If everybody's not paying attention to what's going on up in Jackson County here, you take a look there. I put out a couple of recent videos about their county commission and the county attorney up there. And we still have action happening down in Elk County. I've noticed that the YouTube feed no longer has comments or an in-stream chat anymore because it wasn't cool to criticize the prosecutor or them. You could only make fun of the people that were on trial on their 13th Judicial District live stream. So now that we started talking about Jill and her misbehavior, they shut that down. It's interesting how much censorship is actually going on out there. And I think the Lawrence Journal World could do a little bit better job of fighting that censorship by including the subjects of their stories in their research a little bit.
Wouldn't that be something to get that other side? As many times as they've written about me personally, they have never had me reached out to me for my side of the story and presented my side of the story on anything. Their arrests, all of it. They never have. And Lawrence Times has only done once, and that was on the Sidon thing, getting fired. But yeah, wouldn't that be something? That other side.
It'd be a nice change. It'd be a real nice change. But the problem is we speak our minds, like Cube says, and the chips have fallen where they fall, and this is what we do. You know, guys, I appreciate tuning in. And Doc, any last words?
Not really. Just that I hope the viewers out there that live outside of Lawrence, that they recognize that even though we're talking about things that are happening in Lawrence, that these things very well easily could be taking place where you're at as well. Yeah,
they are.
More than likely are. So I'd encourage everyone to get a little bit more active in terms of doing their own kind of looking and talking, and
go to a meeting.
Yep, meetings and seeing also what's going on with the paper. See, if you go to a meeting and the paper reports on it and it's not lining up, then you got a good indication something's going on there. But it starts by getting active and showing up to these things. So we're talking about Lawrence here, but we feel like these things could apply to other places as well. So just encourage everyone to
100%. 100%, guys.
Ability.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a great night and go to a meeting, damn it. Go to a meeting. And